Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Are we on the phone? Hello, hello. Can you
Hello,
hear me
hello.
now?
Can you hear me now? Caller, you may proceed.
Oh my gosh. Good morning. Happy Monday. I know some folks don't like Monday Azard, but
Oh, I think Monday is marvelous. We're having such a marvelous day so far.
yeah.
You know, that little shower of blessings. It's coming down. It's coming down, 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 down.
One day I don't like. One day I don't like. One day I don't like. Is a Monday. Monday.
Mondays are beautiful.
Mondays are beautiful, but I
Yes.
guess for those folks who work on the weekend and have to go back to
Yes.
work today, that didn't get much rest. You know, you have to understand why they don't like Monday, because there are all kind of memes. Like on Sunday, you'll see memes like, "I don't wanna go to work."
But you gotta go to work.
You gotta go to work. You gotta go
You
to work.
gotta pay those
Mhm.
bills.
Oh boy, I
Yeah.
swear that's all we work for, to pay bills.
You have to make sure you give to the society in terms of your services as well.
Yep.
And for compensation you get money. So it's a trade-off. Services for cash.
Services for cash, but sometimes I think it's just paid slavery. Don't you think?
Mhm.
I just think so, because some people really do a lot of work and get minimum paid. So yeah.
But think about it this way. You often think about society and the rules that govern society and keep society afloat. If everyone was making money regardless of doing a job, then a lot of services that we require would no longer be there. And then it would be anarchy, because then you have no societal order. Yes.
But no. You ever heard of universal basic income?
And what's that?
It's one of those socialist ideas where they actually tried it. I think it's Stockton, California.
Yes.
They elected a black
Mm-hmm.
mayor,
Yes.
and it's actually a white city. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things he campaigned on was universal basic income. But you can look it up in the meantime. You see what it is.
Okay.
And counterintuitively, it actually made those people it made them go. A lot of people who didn't have jobs, and so it actually led to them getting jobs and so on. It seems very counterintuitive, but it's been proven that technically that's what we were doing during COVID when we were giving. Technically, that's what that was, universal basic
And
income.
there is something here from Investopedia, and it says Universal Basic Income, UBI, is the concept of a government program in which every adult citizen receives a set amount of money regularly. The goal of a basic income system are to alleviate poverty and replace other need-based social programs that potentially require greater bureaucratic involvement.
So that's program based on that definition is geared towards persons who need money. Basically, it's a social program. What we are saying, what I was suggesting, is saying that if you have a society whereas there is no one working, then you don't have services, and something like that would be not able to be done, because there would be no one working towards it, unless the only persons who are working are those persons who are leaders and leading the charge in few activities, such as dispensation of the money.
But couldn't universal basic income, Jamsa, could I compare it to the PAP or all of those things?
Sort of, yeah. Sort of.
Okay. Yeah, but we need people to work as
Yeah.
rightfully, because then we won't have anybody doing anything that we need. So we need
Yeah.
need the work, but we just need fair pay.
A lot of those Middle Eastern countries, the oil-rich countries, they actually do that, where instead of people paying taxes, people actually get a check every month, based on the oil revenue and so on. Like
Okay.
Kuwait and Qatar.
But they
places
still do
like that.
work.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course. But yeah, that's still, no,
So
no,
the
no,
point-
no, they
the-
still work.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, of course. You have your
basic
job.
point is that
You have your job. Yeah.
you need persons to work.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
to
yeah.
provide
Of course,
services.
I'm not saying people not work. No, never
You,
that.
you
No.
know, when I think of this, I just think that while we are alive and in our very lifespan, we are just here to work forever to pay that. I just feel
No,
that the system.
you could take vacations
no,
too.
Yeah, but then if you take that vacation on your credit card, when you come back to the real world, what do you have to do? You have to pay for that. Because when I look at it, I'd be like, okay, I supposedly own my house and I supposedly own my land. Why am I still paying taxes? Or if I live in a condominium complex, why am I still paying for upkeep and blah blah blah? Why can't I just upkeep my own place and whatever? Why does it have to be a generalized thing? So I
Yes.
feel like you never really own anything.
You know, you talk about
Except for your clothing
the,
and
the
maybe
land
your
tax,
jewelry.
right? That the property tax that persons pay. And I remember I was doing a conveyancing for a client, and I indicated to the individual the number of things that would be required for the transfer of the property. And even after, an individual said to me, so you mean I got to be paying even after I get the land? How much things?
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to pay for the property tax, and then afterwards, when you purchase land, you know, you also have to pay the stamp duty, which is, you know, some percentage going to the government as well. So inland revenue. So all of these things. So when you thought about all of these things here, you do have to pay taxes. But think about it too.
But it's like you don't own your stuff. Why am I still paying taxes on something that I own? And if I paint it, I have to pay more. And I know some people who still have their houses unpainted because they refuse to paint it to pay a lump sum to the revenue
Because they
department.
feel that the valuation of the property will go
yeah.
up.
Yes.
Yeah, but how many?
That's
Very
serious.
few persons still don't paint.
Isn't that's kind of like a cut off your nose to spite your face
I
kind of
know,
move,
right?
though,
So your house
But
just
you,
in
but a
the mortar.
Jamsa is like Jamsa. Imagine your house not painted, and you have such a good design and such a good.
Yeah, but it feels counter. It's like counterproductive because, I mean, just so I pay less tax, I'm gonna have my house looking like a pigsty. No?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, because without paint, it doesn't. It doesn't. No, the oomph, the fanciness, the zhuzh that
You
it
know
gives
you
your
want
house.
that bright paint right there. You know, that white, that green,
Yeah,
that
something
yellow, something
nice.
that
Because then it
splash.
draws people to look at your house and be
Yeah.
like, "You have a
And you
beautiful
feel comfortable
house."
too. I mean,
Yeah.
color says so much
Yeah.
in terms of the color that you walk into. Imagine a dark room and the vibes you get from a dark room, from a room that's lit, you know. And I also think, you know, for me, I like a room that you have, you're inside the room, it's well lit, naturally as well, and you could see the outside. So you could see the natural environment, but still be inside, you know. I like to see that. I think that's
But
comforting.
some people to not pay. I'm painting my
You know
house, man.
the kind of reasoning some people use sometimes. Like some of the reasoning I hear that I mean I'll post something and they say, oh no, we can't do this. Okay, give an example. Like that was a good one, you know, I'll just give. But like I always complain about the fact that a lot of the streets are not named and houses are not numbered, right?
Oh,
Do you know what? You know, somebody told me about houses being numbered.
what's that?
Thieves it's gonna increase your likelihood
But
that
you
you're gonna
know-
get burglarized.
you know-
It's
But
ridiculous.
it's easier for the postman and it's easier
Yes.
for everybody else to find you because in Guyana we have lot 1, lot 2, lot
Exactly.
3.
And when you talk
whatever.
about service, especially in the court, especially when you talk about bailiffs and stuff like that, we have had a problem. There's a problem where it is that persons aren't being served documents. One of the reasons when you speak to the bailiffs is the fact that they find it very difficult to find individuals. And so because you might have an area that says Stone Fort or Challengers, we're in Stone Fort, we're in Challengers. You might have places that say Old Road, we're in Old Road. So even you say Wingfield Road, which is a road in Old Road, and which number house? You catch what I'm saying? So we really have to look at our urbanization, how we treat rural and urban areas, and try to have some
it
sort of
easy for
identification. Yeah.
So the thief is gonna say, Jams, I'm going to rob number 10 tonight, and then we're gonna rob number 14
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that's ridiculous to me. Even if the house didn't have a
boy.
number, they'll say, okay, we're gonna rob the same thing.
Exactly.
We're gonna rob that house and then we're gonna rob that house.
Exactly.
A number is not gonna make a difference.
No, 'cause these people
I don't
are
understand.
intuitive.
Trust
they
me,
know
saying
who they
this is
want
so
to go
small. If persons have ill intentions, they're going to carry out those ill
But
intentions.
look at the developments in the
Yes.
Frigate Bay area, and I'm not sending anybody there, but they're numbered. Even
And the numbering and road system makes it so much easier for
Yeah.
delivery, makes it so much easier for service when you have to find where persons are. So it's really necessary, it's really needed. And I think we have had we are governments rename schools, government rename platforms such as sporting complex, and so why don't we just invest in the names of the streets and the numbers? You give them lot
Numbering the
numbers and
houses.
stuff like that. Your number according to your lot. So because when you look at a plan, you have lot 3, you have lot 4, you have lot 5. When you look at the older lots, in the description, they normally describe by some of them say by John Paul's house, and then I often think, so what happens if John Paul sells the house and the land? You understand?
I actually have a lot map for where I live, my subdivision, and do you know the streets all have names, but then there are no signs up.
And then each
who's responsible for putting up the sign?
each parcel of land would have a lot number, and so you could number your houses based on the lot.
Yeah.
So that's an idea. I mean, they could think of other ideas. But I want to say, we have our first guest in. Let me apologize. We were to have today Ronnie Yearwood, the president of the Democratic
DLP,
Labour Party there in Barbados, but he will be joining us tomorrow. We still have Peter Wickham. Peter Wickham will be joining us at 9 o'clock, and so we want to welcome Peter when he comes. He's going to be via Zoom. Right now we have traffic talk, and so at 9:32, we're going to have guests. Kortensia, you were telling me from...
the Spectrum Center here in St. Kitts.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Spectrum.
So we
Center,
still have a
Alfred.
packed house. We still have a full house.
Yeah.
So we welcome persons to listen, tune in, and hear what we have to say, hear what our guests have to say as well.
But
you
one
know?
thing I wanted to say was
Mhm.
back to the how the numbering and so on.
Yes.
I think we mentioned the fact that they appointed a new postmaster general,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna try to get him to come on
Yeah, that would
because it would be good to hear what his
We need
plans
some-
are as far as
we
as
need
far
some
as- I
numbering
think
system.
they're part of, obviously
Yeah.
they would be part of that
Yeah.
because
Okay.
they have to deliver mail and so
Yeah.
on. So
Also to that, I could see that going hand in hand with the land registry, going hand in hand with the government surveyors, because they would have to carve out the areas and stuff like that. So I see.
fire
Yeah.
department even fire and
Why you say
police.
fire now? Fire-
Well, because
So they
like
can know where to go.
yeah, for
The
example,
fires are
No, I'm
hot
talking
too.
about talking about the implementation. I mean,
Oh.
after it's implemented.
meaning there would be part there would be because
But the lots would be
well,
the lots.
well,
If the
but
lot,
at
if you
least
have lot 5, your lot 5 remains there, whether or not the,
I mean,
the fire services get
if somebody
involved.
calls in a fire and they say, "What's your house number? What's the street number?"
No, but they would be involved. I'm not talking about the implementation, but
Mhm.
after it's been implemented, involved in and being aware of where the areas are.
Yeah, that's what
And
I'm
then
saying.
if you have everything by lots and stuff like that, and it's easily identifiable, I think if you and I could find it,
That's
then
what I
they would
say.
be able to find
There's
it
a
too.
fire at lot 5. Go to lot 5, please, and thanks. And the
Yes.
fireman just jet off, and
You
they
know,
instantly at
exactly.
lot 5 and
That's-
trying to go all
Lot
the way
5 on St. Peter's Road. You understand?
Yeah.
Or,
Not
or house
jinxing
number
it.
5 on St. Peter's Road. You know?
That's why
I don't think there's any St. Peter's Road in St. Kitts.
it's
When
what
I lived in Edwards Lane, though, my house number was marked number 27.
you lived in Edwards Lane.
Yes.
Number 27.
Okay.
Number 27.
It
Edwards
coincides
Lane.
with your lot being number 27.
I'm not sure what
Actually,
it was.
I remember now, yeah, because I used to live in the
Yeah.
street below.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So number 27.
Oh, you used to live in Antigua as well?
No.
No, I mean
We
St.
talking
Kitts.
St.
Oh,
Kitts.
St. Kitts.
You want lashes?
No,
know
what you
the-
say?
Where is Edwards Lane?
Edward.
You see? Government, we need the streets. right by
I know you-
Value Mart.
Oh.
Up there by Miss Slack.
Yes.
So there was a house in between
So that
ourselves and
whole
Miss Slack.
road is Edwards Lane.
That's Edwards Lane, kind sir.
Okay.
All the way up to the top. It had a marking. It had a label, but I'm not sure if it's still bright.
Where's
But when-
Hermitage Road?
Hermitage is just above.
No, where's Hermitage Road?
Just above Edwards Lane.
Oh,
No.
really?
Isn't
Is
it?
it Hermitage?
No, Nightingale. My
Florence
bad.
Nightingale.
Hermitage is in Nevis or Sandy Point.
No, I
Old
think
Road?
that's
Old
Kiana.
Road.
Old Road.
See?
I'm
Oh.
making
Trying to
sure you
trick me.
see.
He's trying to trick me now. Old Road.
Okay, Okay, let's go to the break. We have Sophie. You guys are cracking up Sophie in here.
Oh boy.
Let's go to the break.
Yes, we're going to take this short break. Yes.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Be careful on the road. Don't make it an episode. Attention all drivers.
8:30. So the only thing we're making an episode is today's edition of Traffic Talk, brought to you by Caribbean Alliance Insurance.
Okay.
And we have got
it totally off.
we have got the sergeant, the good sergeant from the traffic department, and we're having some issues over there with the headphones. So yeah,
We are all good now.
Okay.
Welcome back.
You good, Sophie? Sophie, you good? Okay, all right.
Sophie, you with us? I feel we've started off today on such a jovial note.
That's very good. That's very good.
It's been a marvelous Monday, hasn't it?
Indeed.
Yes. So, Officer Henry, Sergeant Henry, could you tell us today, and for those persons who are listening and viewing, the topic for Traffic Talk? Mm-hmm.
Good morning to the listening audience. Good morning to Azard and his co-host.
Good morning.
This morning I'll be talking about passengers' behavior and safety. It is important to drive safely, not only for yourself, but for your passengers and other drivers. Passengers' safety behavior is positively influenced by their safety awareness, which is further determined by their attitude, subjective to norms and perceived behavioral control. Furthermore, the relationship between safety awareness and safety behavior is partially meditated by passengers' perceived threat of risky behavior. Regarding the total effect, safety awareness is the strongest predictor of passengers' safety behavior. This is saying that according to how the passenger behave on or in a vehicle, it doesn't necessarily mean a motor omnibus. It can be a private vehicle. It can contribute to a lot of things. It can contribute to accidents, and also when accident happen, we have injuries. The driver is always in charge. Avoid trying to set your own rules while being a passenger. There are many passengers out there who keep making rules while on the road that could be obnoxious and may even cause some distraction. For example, don't try to be in control of the radio or give direction like a GPS device. Ultimately, your driver needs to have some peace before hitting the road. So if you just keep talking, you're distracting your driver because he's trying to concentrate on what you're saying instead of concentrating what is happening on the road. We are all taught how to be good drivers, but what about how to be a good passenger? Passengers in vehicle have two responsibilities: to avoid distraction, as I said earlier, the driver, and to help the driver avoid other distractions. Everyone in the vehicle need to work together to limit distraction, and we can all start by being better passengers. Help your driver better handle distraction. Don't let your driver get away with distracted driving, including texting and driving. Yes, some of us think we can multitask by driving and texting. But once you're texting, your focus on the road is limited. If your driver receives an important message while on the road, offer some help. Offer some help. Don't let the driver take up the phone and looking to see what's happening. Because, as I said, you take your eyes off the road, an accident can happen because someone can be right up in front of you and you're not looking to see what is happening. The person stops sudden, then you collided into that person.
Into the back.
Yes. Be a helping hand so both you and your driver can be safe.
Yes. And we have spoken about traffic before. We have spoken about road safety.
Yes.
And we have often spoken through you when you bring the topics. We talk about the need for motor vehicle drivers to be aware, cautious, and drive safely. We talk about pedestrians.
Yes.
And now we're talking about those persons who sit next to the driver.
Yes.
And those persons who are in the vehicle to actually do their part to ensure that the person who is controlling the vehicle does what he or she ought to do to ensure that everyone remains
Around
safe.
them, yes. And don't be an aggressive backseat driver.
We know we have some of those.
It could be irritating to be driving when a passenger on the back seat starts voicing rules like a driving instructor.
What if the driver is doing things contrary to what should be done, Sergeant?
If the driver is doing something that is contrary to be done, then the passenger could voice their opinion, but don't be like an instructor. Yes, because, okay, for instance, I might be driving and I'm going 20 miles per hour. And you're behind there saying, oh, that is too slow, drive up. Or look there when something is not really happening. Or look behind here, I'm doing something, you want me to look back.
Okay.
Those are what I'm speaking about.
Okay, fair enough.
You have those instances, right, where it is that you know that you're going to a specific place, but your way of getting to that place might differ to someone who's with you. And so the person is saying, turn up this road, turn up that road, and you're like, I know where I'm going. We all know where we're going. You don't need to instruct.
That's why I said don't be a GPS for the driver. Yes. And remember that your driver needs to be focused. Pointing out mistakes and distraction could add more pressure and anxiety to the driver. Yes, remember, as I said, some people cannot multitask. So if I'm doing something, let me concentrate on the road. Less talking, it's better for the driver. And remember, passengers should always wear their seat belts. Responsible drivers are always cautious about the dangers on the road. They always buckle up after getting into that car. So if you're someone who is cautious, as soon as you jump in that vehicle, you're going to strap on your seat belt. At the same time, you don't want to be the reason why your friend, relative, or any other driver get a ticket for not buckling up. Because remember, if you're not buckled up, it's the driver, it's not the passenger who's going to get that ticket. So I don't think you want your friend or relative of you have to pay $100 for your negligence or your willfulness or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, I want to talk about the kids that are normally in the back seat that stand up and their parents don't tell them to sit down, or they're not seated in the proper car seats. Yeah, because kids are supposed to be in the seats until they're 5, right?
Yes.
Okay. What
As long as you're under 5, you must be in a car seat. If you're over 5 and under 14, you must buckle up.
Okay.
If you're over 14 in your back seat, then you don't have to put on the seat, but as long as you're under 14, you must be restrained by that seat belt. Under 14. Over 14, as long as you're in the back seat, not the front.
Yeah,
Because
but,
any passenger in front must be buckled up.
yeah, but why are we not this? All parts of the vehicle, back and front, have seatbelts.
Yes.
Why is it not mandatory to use the seatbelt when you're 15? Why
Well, if you want, but in our law, as long as you're over 14 and you're in the back seat,
you don't have to?
you
buckle
don't.
up? Okay.
Yes. I don't know if you have any calls. Or
So, do we have any callers? Callers,
No,
this is your
no calls at the
opportunity. Okay.
moment, and I don't actually agree with that law. I feel like seatbelts should be compulsory across the board. Just saying.
Yeah, because I mean, the manufacturers take the time to put them in the car.
But if you're the driver and you want to insist that, then, but for the
Oh,
law,
I certainly do.
I enforce it.
well, you're enforcing, but for
I
the
certainly
law,
do. Yeah.
it's not mandatory that if you're over 14 and you're in the back seat, you should be buckled up.
When I pick up my niece and nephew, whenever I get the chance to, they're 7 and 5, and the first thing they know once they get in my vehicle, they have to buckle up. So sometimes when they're lollygagging, I just look back and I don't move, or I take my what do you call that? The thing that my window shade, and I just say, "Y'all want me to start whapping?" And then they put on their seatbelts. 'Cause, yeah, no man. I just think once it's groomed from childhood, I think
Yeah.
as adults we'll just put it on once we get in the back even, because we should. They're there for a reason. They're not there for
Yes,
style.
there.
So we have our first caller. Traffic Talk, you're on here.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
A question concerning the use of the child seat. For, let's say, there's a young mother, she has her 6 or 7 month old, and you want to offer that young mother and her child a lift. Am I forbidden to do so because I won't have a car seat to accommodate the safe transportation of that child?
I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no, but as the law states, as long as a child is under 5 years, they must be in a car seat. It is you taking that risk of taking the child without a car seat with the mother. And if the police see you, sometimes they might be lenient and they might not. If anything happen, if there's an accident, God forbid a crash, and something happened to that child, the first thing the mother gonna say, okay, well, you know, you pick me up, but you know you don't have a car seat. I'm just saying from human point of view.
I understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Officer Sophie, what about the buses? We know the parents board the buses and they hold their kids on their laps, and we know how these guys drive so well in the Federation. What about those?
For buses, no. They do not have to have a car seat because they're for hire or reward. They're
Wow.
insured, and if you have to put a car seat in a car seat, a child seat in each bus, then you'll be less passengers. And the buses are registered to carry 14 passengers.
So you think 2 car seats in a bus, right? Let's say we have a conscious bus driver that want to help. 2 car seats in a bus. The car seats aren't really big.
But then, remember, you're not paying for that child unless they're going to put something in law to take. You're not paying for a child
That sits on you?
Yes, no.
Oh. So when do you start paying for the child that sits on you in a bus?
I don't think you pay for them when they're sitting on you.
Oh, because they don't have a seat.
No.
Another
As long
call.
as they're taking up a seat.
Okay,
Hey,
understood.
here's a call. Traffic Talk, you're on here. Go right ahead.
Good morning to the host of Island Tea. Good morning to the ladies and gentlemen for the
Good morning.
Sergeant Henry.
Good morning.
Morning.
My little input this morning with the traffic. I mean, you are showing your best to be truthful. But one afternoon I was coming from down the bay. I don't know if you know, but and they was got the boys when you're going to the Trinity area. The tank were down there.
Yes,
going
sir.
up the hill.
Yes, sir.
They call it Tank Hill. Right? Well, I coming from down the best. I remember take a bad. Going through the wall, going back west, going east to come back to boys area. When you look to vehicle trying to overtake, and next vehicle going up the hill and took you, and almost jam me into the wall, you know? Almost jam me into the wall. Miss Henry, when I see that, I said, well. And when these things take place, no, they just come out and tell them, how this happen, how this get up, my mother, what happened this? And the ignorance them do. You come like your mother, the more higher talk, the more ignorance these drivers get on with and do what they got to do. I'm agree that I can be here and everywhere. Because some people call it about police supposed to be anywhere. Police can be anywhere 24/7. Police can't see what's going on here, so police here to be here and be there and be there. People supposed to drive with caution and precaution. Well, ignorant, Mr. Rapper, here we went on with some, I believe it was me. Here I went on. Because I ain't see that at all, trying to overtake. The next driver got to end up on the next side, you know. Man, when I feel, you know, just to get them a little level to ease in from the vehicle coming out here, you know. All right then, man, thank God for trying your best, man. I try your best, but the ignorance of the drivers, them, I want to know some of them not going to drink or going to do. Only that me could say. All right.
Thank you, Carlo.
Thank you for your call.
Yes, I am glad that nothing happened to you, but we know we should not overtake at a bro on a hill, and that is a hill coming up. You cannot see what's coming from the opposite direction.
Exactly.
And the thing is that that's a built-up area.
You even see this nonsense on the little hill in Frigate Bay.
Yes,
When
I was
you're
just
like,
about to say that.
Why would you do that? Who told you nothing was coming?
You cannot see around
It's
corners.
crazy.
You cannot see over hills. I don't see why people like to overtake, especially the buses.
You have a call. Call, go right ahead. Traffic talk.
Good morning, Island P.
Good morning,
Jam
Jam
Down.
I was sitting in the last cup of the ganja tea. Mistress Henry,
Good morning.
good morning. Special morning.
Thank you.
What I want to talk about today, Miss Henry, we all know I stretch. And it come to me like the commissioner don't really care with important things we're troubling this country. And Jam Down will talk, eh? Remember I born here. I'm brought here. Miss Henry, we have some young men moving around at weekends and doing high there without helmet driving and styling and vehicles. And, you know, it's so sad that when they're caught up in these vehicles and get mashed up, everybody going to say, oh, the vehicle man wrong. But these guys doing a lot of foolishness, you know. And you all got to be a little more robust and that on the road. When I see them riding, I see that every day in the circus. Night, morning, man, it's terrible, Miss Henry. And something got to done, you know. Otherwise, you are going to lose the credibility. Going from since Hanley American, the boy there when the African place there. He going slowly because we ain't seen the visibility of the police on the road and to, you know, stop these young men from doing what they're doing. You think them things could have gone on in Walwyn as the regional commander and the watcher? Government in the only sentence? Man, come on, we know better than this. We need order in the country. The country is going. We cannot get this like a little boy just disrespecting the place. All right, that's enough for me. This is Jam Down, eh?
Thank you.
Kortensia, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Jam Down.
Thank you, Jam Down.
Nothing is too far to come back, Jam Down. And in the 1970s, we had children or persons who were well brought up. Today we have some that are brought up, but some, they just fall by the wayside, as I can say. Yes, we're doing our best, Jam Down. We've been out there up to, I think, was the 1st of this month. We're out there, and we issue some ticket for persons on bike without helmet. So we are doing our best.
Okay.
Yes.
So if then other calls, we could continue the presentation.
Yeah, we do have a call coming
Okay.
in. Traffic talk. Go right ahead.
Hi, good morning, James. Good
Morning.
morning, Azard. Good morning,
morning.
Kortensia, and
Good
good morning to
morning.
the traffic officer.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to put in a note there for something that I have mentioned on the radio. I think it was Wednesday on the Voices program. It concerned a hazard on the road. There was some spillage from one of the service providers who deliver concrete, be it I think it's masonry or the contact. And I made mention about it. I like to bring my matters to the People's Court, thanks to Island Tea and other programs.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I went up to the southeastern side yesterday, and lo and behold, they did clean it up. And so we thank you. I don't know if the traffic department was instrumental in getting it rectified, but we say thanks. When civic-minded people come and they bring things to the public, the onus is on us to really come back and thank the relevant authorities that has acknowledged and has saw fit to rectify the problem. So let's keep the awareness high for road users. Myself, I'm a driver, taxi driver, and so when it comes to the traffic, I want to put my 2 cents in. So that's my take for today.
Thank you,
I
Africa.
continue to listen.
Thank you, caller. Yes, well, I spoke to one of the service provider last week, so I don't know if it's them did it or the other one, but thank you for calling and informing us.
And we go back to the phone lines. It's 8:53 Traffic Talk. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
This is Henry. Good morning, and how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you, Mrs. Prokop.
Okay, what I have to say this morning, Mrs. Henry, is that I heard the DPP stated that anyone got killed by an accident, the driver will get 5 years in prison. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the way that people using the traffic today, I think you should come back and change that. Because to me, they look like they have traffic suicidal idea. Because you're driving, and these people just crossing the street, and they're turning their backs on you. The driver is that, knock me down, no, I don't care, you got to wait. No. No, because it's a pedestrian, you got to use the traffic and the roads how you feel like. You understand? So, there's a lot of things out there. I agree with Jamster. I agree with Mr. Politics. I agree with all these people calling in this morning. The more we talk, the worse they do. You understand? And the most important thing that bothering me out there as a driver is that the overtaking of the bus, and they just don't overtake on other vehicles. They wait until they're close up underneath you and they swift in, bam. So if you speed up by the time they comes in, bam, there's going to be an accident. You're going to hit them in the back. And I don't tell all you, anybody that come in to overtake 4 and 5 cars and swing in front of Wilma and they get hit in the back, I'm not fixing anybody's car. I'm not fixing anybody's vehicle because common sense, man. Yesterday we on the road, a driver overtake about 5 cars and then swing in front of us. The roads are not lovely like before. We have too much ignorant people out there driving, Miss Henry, and I know you're the try your best. I know you're the you understand? But it's not what the country can do for us, it's what we can do for our country. And you stay safe. Love you.
And thank you. Love you too.
Yes, thank you so much for that call.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly, is what we can do for our
Love
country,
you.
and we
Aw.
need to do
How sweet.
better.
Yes.
Yes.
Y'all just having an all Monday.
A marvelous Monday. Yes.
everybody loves Sophie.
Any more calls?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. The presence of passengers in a vehicle and the behavior can positively or negatively influence road safety. The risk of a car crash can be reduced by avoiding unnecessary or inappropriate interaction between drivers and their passengers. The risk of a crash can be reduced by avoiding unnecessary or inappropriate interaction between drivers and their passengers.
Okay, hold that thought. We have another call. Traffic Talk, go right ahead.
Yeah, good morning again. Wilma, my good friend, good morning. It's a good thing that the geese boat, we come from England with pig foot, foul foot, all kind of foot. They don't bring real foot. So let them young boys be here. Go on. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jam
Passengers can improve safety by not distracting the driver through excessive conversation or by inappropriate behavior. Performing tasks on behalf of a driver, example, receiving and making phone calls, and navigating and reading maps.
Okay, another call. Traffic Talk. Traffic Talk, go right ahead. It's 8:56. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll tell you what our country can do for us. For over a year now, the roundabout at the airport had that new arrangements with concrete dividers, etc. And back in March of last year, the officer who came on to this program assured us that very shortly there will be signs clearly marked to indicate to motorists which lane they should take if they want to go into Bastille, go to the airport, or go to Frigateway. It's now over a year. Motorists approaching that roundabout still have no signs telling them which lane they should take in order to go where. Our country can do for us if they can get those signs over a year old in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
There are markings on the road. I don't know if it's overhead signs you're speaking about, but there are markings on the road. There are one on the left. As soon as you're approaching the lane to go to Kim Collins, and there are also two arrows showing that you can take either side. One showing that you can go to that side, or you can take the one into Bass. There are also markings on the main area to tell you if you have to go straight into Bastia or over to Kim Collins or the airport. So I don't know if it's overhead signs you're talking about, sir. But there are signs on the road.
Okay, we go back to the phone lines. 8:58. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Piggybacking off of what the gentleman just spoke about concerning markings, I'm a bit concerned, well, quite concerned rather, about Old Road Bay. I know that the project is not yet complete. However, I consider Old Road Bay to be a hazard because there are no markings on the road to properly identify the lanes, and the lighting is very poor. So especially at night, you find that drivers have to really pay a lot of attention to what side of the road they are on, ensuring that they're not in the middle of the road or too far over on the rocky area. So I'm just asking for somehow the project to be completed so that that area can be a safe driving place. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you for your input, caller.
Yeah, and that's an X-race. That's an X-race track for the drivers.
I drove down there Saturday and I saw, I think is Sarah Paving.
Okay.
They have a machine down there, so I don't know if they're going to continue. I saw a machine down there with some cones. So I don't know if they're going to do something down there to complete the work. I'm not sure.
Okay. But at least couldn't we have couldn't there be a distinct line between the left side and the right side so people can stay on their side?
Okay. We're going to take our last call.
Okay.
Just reminding our listeners, we have Peter Wickham coming up next, right after Traffic Talk. But go ahead, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My problem is learners on the road during rush hour. I like this time of morning. So between 8 and 10. I ain't got a problem with people learning to drive. But to be on the bypass roads, the highway, at them times of morning, is impeding actually, it should be a ticketed offense to be doing 5 and 10 miles an hour on those main traffic roads at 8 o'clock and 8:39 in the morning. I think somebody got to do something about that, because in the end too, that make people speed when you pass them people and you got to go to work. It's a load of rhythm. Have a good day.
Thank you, Carla. I take your concern into consideration, yes, but for a learner, they have to be learning in different time. Because if I am only there during when it's slow period, how would I be able to control the traffic when it's a busy time after I get my license?
Yeah.
So you have to be done both times. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but for a learner, they have to be driving in different timing.
Yeah, and I know most of the instructors used to try to keep us in Frigate Bay or try to keep us somewhere where there wasn't a lot of traffic.
Yes.
But as you are correct, after we get our license, we have to know how to maneuver in
And
these
if
type
you
of traffic.
can't do that, it does make sense.
Yeah, but I don't. Okay. I don't get that one.
Okay, so it's
Well,
2 minutes after 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
And that's going to do it for Traffic Talk for today. And Traffic Talk, of course, brought to you by Caribbean Alliance Insurance. We have Polster Peter Wickham coming up next. Stay tuned.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Dalil Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Development Bank, get ready to walk for a cause at the Development Bank Mental Health Walk Run. Join us on May 25th, 4:30 a.m., starting at the Frigate Bay Lawn and ending at Majors Bay. Packages are only $40 and $65. Proceeds from this event will be donated to students pursuing a degree in psychology or a related field, ensuring a brighter future for mental health professionals. Sprint to the finish line and win cash prizes. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Development Bank SKN for more information. Special thanks to our partners, the Mental Health Association, the National Counseling Center, 3C's Counseling Services, Nelson Spring Water, SL Hosford's Value Mat IGA, Flow, Coscab, St. Kitts Limited, Sugar City, 90.3 FM, Nail Files, D&D Services, Taiwanese Technical Mission, the Department of Environment, Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, and the Solid Waste Management Corporation for their generous support. So, purchase your packages, mark your calendars, spread the word, and let's take a stride to heal inside.
Making a sustained positive difference in your life.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
And we are back, Island T, and We are expecting the renowned pollster Peter Wickham. He's going to be on. We're going to be talking about, some little politics about, the what is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. The politics is always there when it comes to St. Kitts and Nevis, and whatever is happening also in the region, he could give his view on it. Peter Wickham is, as I said before, he's a pollster, and he has been giving predictions on elections and giving advice where possible to political parties and other agents. So we await Peter, Mr. Wickham. He is of Barbadian, and of course we await him. He recently had an interview whereby he spoke about what is happening in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. He gave some suggestions. He spoke about his view in relation to the Honorable Sean Richards, indicating that he will no longer seek or go for re-election for leader of the People's Action Movement. And Peter had his own view on that matter. So while we await Peter, Mr. Wickham, we know that there are some persons out there. If you have questions to ask him, take this opportunity, to listen and to ask him whatever questions. We open the phone lines, of course, and so you have the opportunity to ask your questions. You have the opportunity to engage with Peter Wickham. And so this is an opportunity that if you do want to ask questions, you can. So we encourage you to do so. Kortensia, how are you feeling?
Great, excellent. It's Monday.
Yes.
I love Monday.
We've had such a talk about the traffic,
Whilst we, let me get to this.
Yes.
One, we have a lot of young men in society that we normally say, the young men are bad, the young men are this, or the young men are that. While we wait for the pollster,
yes,
let's take this opportunity to give this young man some flowers while he's alive, while he's doing good, and may other young men take a page out of his book. So there's this 13-year-old youngster that, he's in 2A1. He's a student of the Keon High School. He's hustling whilst on vacay. And he is cutting the coconut accurately with that cutlass. I'm looking like, little one, be careful with your hand.
Yes.
But he's doing something positive, earning his little money, so when he goes back to school, or he can buy whatever he needs when he goes back to school.
His name is Zan.
Yeah, so kudos, Zan. Keep doing
fact,
good
when
work.
I saw the video, I know Zan, and so I said, wow, he knows how to handle that machete properly.
Yes.
I had my worries when I see him
Yes, me too.
with that, but he really knows how to handle that machete now. And so congratulations, Zan. Continue being an entrepreneur and continue doing what you can to make your family proud.
Well, let's take this call in the meantime.
Yes.
Caller, go right ahead.
Right there.
Hi,
greetings.
Everyone is good. What Zan was doing? Cutting jelly, cutting cane. What he was doing? I missed the part.
Cutting coconut jelly.
Oh, you know Zan too?
No, Zan is where that is.
Frigate Bay. Under the mango tree, the grafted tree.
Yes, I think I know him. Yes.
Okay.
You know, hey, me see some woman do that in Jamaica. Shut all the eye and do it. Me say,
Wow.
No,
That takes some skill.
Kill people. Okay, right off the heels. But before we go there, thanks for the information flow so far. Right off the heels of traffic jam. We want to ask them uniform people there. If them afraid, these motorcycle men. Because these motorcycle men is doing some crazy things in the road. Mad.
Yes.
And them a pass all in front of the police station and do it. No, something is wrong.
Yes, indeed.
Something wrong.
We will continue that conversation. We have, I think we have on the line Peter Wickham now. So
he come. Okay.
Yes.
He have a question for him. You have a question for him. Can we put it in quick?
No, on the Zoom.
Zoom?
So
So we can put on the question we have to go up on Zoom to put in a thing.
No. Hold on.
Yeah.
You just want to ask
Yeah.
a question.
He said that he's saying still waiting to be let in. Says that another meeting is in progress.
Okay, so can we ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
What?
Okay.
Yes.
Introducing him,
Yes.
you say he's Barbadian. And we smile. And the question we like to put to Peter is it time for us who was taken away and scattered in these parts here because think his name is Barbados, etc. Is it time that we chant one night anthem, sing one song, and done with these kind of false identities? Wouldn't it be better for us going forward as a regional people?
Okay. Thank you so
That's
much.
the question I'd like
Yes.
to put to him. Stop.
Yes. No problem. Okay, so we have Mr. Wickham. Peter?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be with you guys again. It's been a while.
Yes. And I've seen that you've made the news in St. Kitts and Nevis yet again.
Hopefully one day it would say that I am winning a seat there.
I see. So, you were on a very popular interview. You did an interview with Cholesterol, a very popular program, and you were giving your view on what happened here in St. Kitts and Nevis. More specifically, when it comes to the People's Action Movement, you gave your view on the Honorable Sean Richards indicating that he would not be seeking office as the political lead of the People's Action Movement. And during your interview, you mentioned a number of things. Could you give us a summary so persons who might not have been aware, and I don't want to talk for you, persons who might not have been aware of what you said in relation to that you could say it now?
Yeah, sure. Happy to recap. And no, I was essentially saying it was a good thing that Sean Richards had decided to take an exit from politics. I think it gives the
he never said that he was going to exit. He said that he was not going to
relinquish leadership.
Yes.
Right. It gives Palm an opportunity to breathe again. What I was saying was the reality of the last election is that the guys took a gamble and lost. And it was kind of like when David Cameron gambled with the Brexit and lost. Ultimately, it meant that he needed to exit. And I think that is essentially the type of mature decision a politician makes. I thought it was highly ill-advised that the Team Unity coalition was broken up. Sean Richards was clearly actively involved in the breakup of Team Unity. And I thought it was unwise to do it when you didn't have something else to offer. And, all along he was being told, guy, if you do this thing, you could end up with just your seat because the numbers were not supporting the idea that they would have won any other seats. But they gamble. And I appreciate that in politics sometimes, you will take a gamble in the hope that things will work out. Things didn't work out. So in a situation like that, it's a zero-sum game. Either you win all or alternatively you lose everything. And he has essentially failed in his bid. To me, there's nothing further in politics for him now because he has been Deputy Prime Minister of St. Kitts. It's clearly Nevis. It's clearly he's not going to become Prime Minister. I think his opportunity to become Prime Minister was essentially scuttled, and he has made a decision, look, I'm going to go and do a PhD and do something else. And I said, good on him. I also said in the interview that I thought that Sean Richards was a decent guy. I think that Sean is a reasonable and decent type of politician. I just think that he was in over his head on this one, frankly. And I think that, with effort and mentoring, he could very well have made a very good Prime Minister. But evidently, it's not going to happen now. So what is the way forward for PAM? I'm not acting in an advisory capacity to PAM or anything, so I can speak relatively freely. I think that PAM needs to seal the coalition or the association with PLP. I don't believe that a relationship with CCM is going to take any of you anywhere. So if PAM were to ask for my advice, I would say that you need to get back into bed with Tim Harris. The reality is that he is likely to lead Team Unity. So he's likely to lead PLP for a while. The probability of you being able to win as PAM on their own, and I'm saying you, but I mean just generally, of PAM being able to win on his own, in my opinion, is quite low. And while PLP can't win, otherwise it can stop you from winning. So if the objective for both PLP and PAM is to get back into control in government, then I think that ultimately you need to have a viable coalition or working arrangement that can be as strong as is humanly possible to be able to take you forward, because neither individual entity is going to work. And my thing is that I don't believe that Sean Richards is in a position to negotiate with Harris again. And, you know, in light of the fact that Harris is not likely to go anywhere from PLP, I think it's a factor that you have to work with. So that would be a summary of what I've said. And I think that the next person is going to be in a far better position to negotiate with whomsoever in PLP than currently exists with Sean Richards. So that was my synopsis of what I said. Sorry to be so long-winded.
No problem. I think we have Jamsa. You wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, Peter Jamsa here. I guess maybe it might be awkward for Azard to ask this question. You have, yeah, you've continually referenced the fact that PAM seems to have an issue winning on its own.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think contributes to this, and what do you think they can do to fix that?
Well, I think the obvious thing was leadership. You know, PAM clearly has not been able to identify leadership that is of the quality of your former leader, and I think that we are today is his birthday, I believe. Current living national hero.
Well, April 12th was his birthday.
Okay,
You mean Sir Kennedy Simmons?
Sir Kennedy Simmons, yeah.
Yes.
I was looking at your Facebook page, but unfortunately I was a few days behind. So
Yes.
happy belated birthday to
Yes.
Sir Kennedy. But yeah, when Sir Kennedy bowed out of politics, you know, PAM hasn't had a leader after that who would be able to match Denzel Douglas, and as a result, it was Pamela for many years. You got into coalition arrangements with people that appear to be able to propel you into office, and the last time you were in office, it was also in a coalition. So I think that really is the thing, that individually PAM has to have outstanding leadership to be able to project itself forward, and it hasn't been able to produce that. And this is not meant as disrespect to any of the individuals like Lindsey Grant and so on that have led it, but you know, in final analysis, you have to have a leader that matches Denzel Douglas or Timothy Harris or whoever in a way that Kennedy Simmons would have. And therein lies the problem. That didn't seem to be happening.
So you're saying that, but there are persons out there, and persons have have given the view when it comes to the People's Labour Party. A lot of persons are saying that it seemed to be led, well, not seem to be led. It is led by the Honorable Timothy Harris, but many persons have the view that if the Honorable Timothy Harris was to step away from the People's Labour Party, that there would be no People's Labour Party. Persons are saying that, you know, Dr. Timothy Harris is the People's Labour Party. Over the past years, we have seen where a number of his candidates or persons who ran in the election of office, they have left him, left the party, so to speak. What do you say in relation to that? And
but what's the problem with that, Azard?
I'm asking you what you say in relation to that. These are concerns that persons have arisen. These are questions.
He is the PLP. There's no question about it. The PLP was his creation. The PLP was a vehicle that took him out of the Labour Party and delivered the prime ministership to him in association with Team Unity. And the fact that he could go into that arrangement with one single seat, which is his, and emerge as prime minister, speaks volumes. So of course the PLP is Timothy Harris, but I mean, that's not rocket science. But one could also argue, look, we have a situation in Barbados now, and you're supposed to be interviewing Ronnie Yearwood, where you have a Democratic Labour Party that was very much like PLP. It was a creation of Al Barrow. That was a vehicle that took him out of the Barbados Labour Party and delivered the prime ministership to him on his own as first prime minister. He had people with him, you know, much like Timothy Harris would have had people with him. Some of those people defected, some of them died, some of them are probably still around now. But ultimately, you will find that a lot of the political parties are a reflection of the leadership. Like, can anyone tell me that the Unity Labour Party in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not Ralph Gonzalez? Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it works. So I'm trying to understand what's the big deal here. Yes, Timothy Harris is a political factor that ultimately has motivated a political party behind him. And the thing is that I agree, if he disappears, it will make it far easier for Palm to be able to say, okay, well, we are a solid force. The reality, however, is that he's not likely to go anywhere in a hurry. So my thing is, what do you do? Do you sit down and wait? Or alternatively, do you say, what can we do to get political parties exist to get into office and to win elections? So my thing is, if you're looking at winning an election, your strategy in the short term has to be, how do you match the leadership option that's currently on the table in the shape of Dr. Drew, right? And right now, quite frankly, there's really no pressure on Dr. Drew to perform, because Dr. Drew knows that regardless of what happens, the opposition is far too disorganized to mount a popular opposition to him. You had a situation in the budget the other day, Timothy Harris was able to get speak for, I think it was only half an hour, and he was asking for an extension, and nobody in the opposition was supporting him. It is gross disunity on the opposition benches, and we understand that. So if they're not even willing to support Timothy Harris speaking for an extended period of time, a former minister of finance, a former prime minister, being able to reply to the budget, clearly it is something which, and I'm sure that Dr. Drew must be smiling all the way to the bank politically, because he knows that regardless of what happens, he has a one-seat majority. But that one-seat majority is safe like nothing, simply because he knows that even if one of his members defected to the other side, who are they going to associate with? You have Timothy Harris, who has been a leader, who clearly can't work with Sean Richards, who clearly can't work with Mark Brantley, and Mark Brantley has 3 seats, and Mark Brantley can't use those 3 seats to negotiate anything on his own. So it's a perfect storm, quite frankly, for Dr. Drew, and the only people that can change that is Pam.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the People's Action Movement, and we're talking about the PLP as well, what is your view? I mean, there are persons out there who have said that the People's Action Movement should stand on its own, that the People's Action Movement should run candidates in all 8 constituencies, that the People's Action Movement is the time and the opportunity for the People's Action Movement to stand tall. With persons who express that views, what is your view on that?
I would disagree with them, and I will tell them that the record recently has demonstrated that is not going to work. Right? It's not going to work. So you can perhaps try, but if I were to look at the evidence before me, I would say the evidence would suggest that there's no basis on which either a PLP ticket or a PAM ticket can win syndicate in sufficient number to be able to put them back in government. There is no evidence to support that.
Also, do you have any evidence to prove that that working together, PAM and PLP, would be sufficient to defeat the Labour Party?
The evidence is in 6 years that you won 2 elections. That's the evidence. What more evidence can you want than that? You realize that you had a landslide victory 2 years before the government collapsed? I mean, it is tragic that after having a landslide in an election where you guys knew that the reason that you did so well was because you were able to conquer the overseas vote, you put yourself into a situation with borders open a year later. I mean, it's a level of political folly that I have not seen in a long, long time. People give you a landslide, and you know the only reason you got that landslide was because you were able to close the borders for COVID. But it was a perfect storm for you. And then you put yourself in a situation a year later where, because of internal fighting, you say, okay, we're going to break up this. And then now persons will say, but what's the evidence? The evidence was the last election result. Sorry, the one before the last, which to me was a true reflection. And I have a situation all the time when I do polling in St. Kitts, and I always say to people, you do polling in St. Kitts and Nevis, right? You will look at those polls, and then you have to say, how much can those polls be varied by virtue of the fact that you can bring in a plane from New York with sufficient supporters to change that reality? And the thing that fascinates me about St. Kitts and Nevis, we speak in hushed tones about overseas voters in other countries. St. Kitts is the only place where I can speak about it openly because everybody knows it happens. And it is legal, it's perfectly legal, right, for it to happen. So look at what's going on over on NRP in Nevis, right? I am thoroughly convinced that the popularity of the NRP on the ground is quite high, but they lost all 3 seats in the last federal election. What's the reason for that? You know? And once you're dealing with those realities, you have to look at the proximate evidence. And I would say the best proximate evidence was the election held when the borders were closed, and Team Unity won the resounding victory. But what did you do a year later? You scuttled it. You know, I just, it is mind-boggling the level of political folly that went on. It really is.
So, like, how do you see, and you talk about collaboration, but how do you see a collaboration working? What would you suggest? Because there are 2 different political parties, one's working together, and now both of them are on St. Kitts. Of course, you look at the constituencies, and then you have to determine if there is going to be a coalition of any nature going forward as to which constituencies would be one parties and what other constituencies would be another parties. In your mind, what is your view on the way forward if there is going to be a coalition, if there is, that is?
I think the first thing is looking at political realities and being mature enough to say that this is not about how much I like Sean Richards or how much I like Timothy Harris or how much I like Dr. Drew. You know, I think that a lot of politics has to do with the fact that people say, you know, I don't really like this individual. I've found over time that political realities are such that people in political parties generally don't like each other. People between political parties generally don't like each other. And to be perfectly honest, the level of hate that you find inside some of these political parties in the Caribbean is easily matched by the level of hate that you see across political boundaries, you know? So you're often in a situation where you sit down in a group with people who you really, really do not like. And it's always fascinating when people have, like, for example, weddings. The weddings are usually a good example, right? We had a prime minister in Barbados called Owen Arthur who got married in Barbados, and he was the first prime minister to get married in office. I'm not saying anything with respect to Dr. Drew in this regard. I'm staying out of that.
Peter.
No, I mean, there's no need. Owen Arthur got married in Barbados, and not a single cabinet minister was invited to his wedding. Not a single one. Right? However, not Mia Motley, his deputy, not Billy Miller, none of them got invited to the wedding. But there were opposition people there. Because those were his friends.
That's why I always say they're all friends. When we are fighting, they're all friends.
I think what Peter is saying is that oftentimes, even within political parties, even though they have one cause, one common goal, oftentimes they are perhaps not friends.
Precisely.
Oh, Peter,
that's what I'm saying has to be important, because I often hear when people are talking about, you know, working with Harris, and I hear people saying, but, you know, he's done so many bad things to so many people and created enemies. And I'm just saying to myself, but what exactly is the relevance of all of that? I'm not telling you to marry the man. I'm telling you to work with him in a political party.
Peter, let me ask a question here on the PLP and Mr. Harris. We have a dynamic at play here now. We have 3 parties. It generally hasn't worked in St. Kitts. I want you to tell me, one, what's different this time where the PLP has been able to do as well as it has. 2, obviously the PLP is going to split someone's vote. I want you to tell me which party you thinks vote it's likely to split going forward, or is it something that will change depending on maybe depending on the zeitgeist at the time and so on?
Right. All right. So basically, God, there's so many things I wanted to say in this regard. There are forms to political association, which I want to get into at some stage to look at what the kinds of model will look like. But the key question you just asked is, what makes a coalition work and stick? My view is that a coalition will work and stick in a situation where people are politically mature enough to understand that this is the only way they can get a whole power. The PNM in Trinidad and Tobago was a coalition initially, and the PNM is now one of the most credible political forces anywhere in this region. The PNM, it started out in that way. The Unity Labour Party in St. Vincent and the Grenadines was a coalition that Ralph Gonzalez cobbled together with one other person, And people don't even remember that that was initially a coalition, and that has worked well largely because it is won 5 elections back to back, right? In Antigua and Barbuda, the UPP started out as a coalition of forces, ND, and then UNDP and different other political parties. And again, now people don't remember. When a political coalition or alliance or whatever you call it gets to the stage where it can deliver something that you can't deliver on your own, it will work and it will stick. So this idea that it doesn't happen is rubbish. The fact is that it worked in St. Kitts. It delivered you the government not once but twice. And the fact that it broke up had nothing to do with the fact that the coalition wasn't working. It had everything to do with the fact that the individuals involved were politically immature and were having some issues that they couldn't resolve. And I'm not giving Timothy Harris a thing on that either. I think there were things that he should have done that he didn't do. And he has acknowledged that. I don't know if it publicly, but certainly privately. And I think that that is the basis of a situation where you can say, look, let's see how we can resolve and get to the point where we're like so many other coalition parties that we evolve into a unit that no one ever really remembers was separated in the first place.
We have a question here on the Facebook, and someone has asked, what created the political folly? Its cause and effect. And it says, you keep looking at the effect, but not the cause, which makes you look biased.
Yeah, no, and I know that everybody will say that I am biased in that regard, but ultimately the cause is, I think the cause is pretty well known. There were concerns of CCM that they were not getting what they thought they should have gotten, and that was a cause which is not unique to Team Unity. Indeed, this is one that is still, because it's still in getting what they feel they should be getting. So it was a question of a share of power that they were uncomfortable with. But what I think was more important was that CCM saw an avenue to influence a move in another direction. And CCM knew that they had a fallback position, which was always comfortable because they were the premier, they had control of Nevis, and ultimately that was the prize for them. That's the CCM's position. In terms of what created an opportunity where PAM and PLP was concerned, was that I think that there was a level of arrogance on the part of Prime Minister Harris, where he did not believe that concerns that were being raised by Sean Richards were relevant. There was another point also where I think that persons were whispering into his ear the belief that he should continue to be Prime Minister for longer than 3 terms, right? If I am to say in full transparency, I have never had a conversation with Timothy Harris in which he said it was his intention. He has always said, after 2 years, I plan to go. There were several others in the group that said there's no way he can go after 2 years. But him personally, I have never
You mean after 2 terms?
Right, 2 terms. Yeah, I've never heard him saying that he wanted to stay beyond 2 terms. I think that when that issue came up, based on that infamous speech that lady made, Prime Minister Harris should have slapped her down publicly. And I think his failure to do that created a suspicion on many people's part that he had no intention of going anywhere. But with even that said, I am not supporting the idea of Sean Richards going after him the way that he did. Because you can't go after a man for not being willing to give up a position after 10 years that he promised to give up after 10 years when he only had it for 6. So I'm saying that there are contributing factors on both sides, and that's the cause. The effect, however, was that regardless of what happened, they should have brought down. Look, there was a 6-week period on.
We have a caller.
Sure, right.
Caller, go ahead.
Greetings for the extending same to your guest online.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of collab, we have seen administration compile of members of every political party. How do you see something like that? And we see it being better for the people, for all the parties, which means all the people. How do you see that? And a different government, one administration in St. Kitts and one in Nevis, set up that same way. How do you see that, my brother? Thanks for the information you shared. Listen down.
Okay, Peter. Thank you, caller. Go ahead, Peter.
I don't know how that works. So you have everybody in the state government in St. Kitts and Nevis. I mean, it would be interesting, but I don't know that it works.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of arrangements like the one they have in Israel, where because of proportional representation, everybody gets to be involved in government.
Yes.
I think that a big part of the reason why Netanyahu is in power now is because you have these right-wing people empowered.
No
And
problem.
when people talk about proportional representation, I always say that right now you have right-wing forces in government of Italy. You have right-wing forces in Israel. I think that's the most vulgar example in which these people are empowered. And in our kinds of system, they would never get anywhere because the first past the post system snaps out all of that.
Yes.
The challenge with these power sharing arrangements is that you have to give power to a lot of nitwits sometimes that you would prefer not to be involved because ultimately they have a vote. Well, in our system, invariably you only get the more significant, powerful forces. At the philosophical level, though, look, there's no difference between PLP, PAM, CCM, PAM, NRP, PAM. There's no difference between them philosophically. And I challenge any of you guys who are close to the political parties than I am to tell me what is the philosophical difference between the two. It's just personalities. And it's the same with BLP and DLP in Barbados, they're both Labour parties. PNM and UNC in Trinidad and Tobago, maybe one is teeth a little less than the other, but ultimately it's the same thing. There's no difference really between political parties.
We have a caller, Peter, on the line. Caller?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am following the discussion and I find it quite interesting, but I just want to make a few points. I think Mr. Wickham said a little earlier, he spoke about Dr. Douglas, from my recollection, Timothy Harris, Kennedy Simmons, and so on, and the fact that they're great leaders and that parties should be looking for leadership at that level to be able to make themselves compelling and attractive. I think that we are evolving as a society, though, that more and more Kittians are rejecting some of that style of leadership where you have leaders who have a one-manism type of approach to leadership. And yes, they're strong, but the priority of a good leader, a wise leader, to me, should be that you are building capacity. If you really care about the country and you really care about the institution that you're leading or the organization, a major priority for you should be to build leadership capacity within that organization, to be thinking about the future of the organization and continuity for the organization. That ought to be a major priority for the wise leader who really loves whatever he or she is leading. Because inherent in the word lead for me is the word team, and that we are working together. You don't lead yourself. You're working with other people. And so even while, yes, ultimately you might be responsible for the entity, you're also thinking about growing that entity, building that entity, making sure that there are other persons who are coming along who are equipped with whatever skill sets would become necessary to lead that organization, right? I find that whenever you find a leader who is saying in an organization that I can't find anybody to take over from me, that is an indictment against the leader. It means you're not doing your job well as a leader. So, and I believe Kittitians, we're not looking at Kittitians as they mature in their political awareness. I believe Kittitians are becoming more aware of the requirement to have that type of leadership. Because you're hearing more and more Kittitians talking about terms for leadership. They don't want anybody in 20 and 30 years and dying in your boots kind of story. People don't want that. People are looking for organizations that can attract them because they have new ideas, they have fresh ideas, and so on. And so that is where I will leave that for now. I will continue to listen. I don't know what is Mr. Wickham's take on, what I just proposed. Thank you.
Yeah, no, your ideas are interesting, and the two sides to it. And I'm fascinated by that conversation, and I say that we've had some pretty bad examples of leadership in the Caribbean in terms of success. And I think one of the cases in point would be Fanda Stewart in Barbados, who essentially paved the way for Mayor Motley to win all the seats twice. He was a very weak leader, but one of the mantras of his position was that, look, I am merely a chairman of the board. I will allow ministers full reign to do whatever they want, and I will essentially just steer the ship. That was his position. People felt he was too uninvolved, he was too weak, He wasn't involved in anything. You never saw him. They say he fell asleep at the wheel. The driver can't drive. All kind of horrible things were said about him. And ultimately, he did badly at the polls. He is not unlike Brigadier General, what's his name? Brigadier Granger in Guyana, who had a similar philosophy. And ultimately, he did horribly. He did badly, and he lost the election. And indeed, one of his members voted against him, which ultimately brought down the government. And then you have Tillman Thomas in Grenada. Same thing. Generally speaking, as much as people say that petitions and people in the Caribbean in general are now willing to embrace leaders that are more conciliatory and less weak, more weak and less strong and less about the warmanism, the evidence that I've seen electorally shows that these people do not do well. Leaders like that don't do well. So let's come to the other idea now about creating alternatives. And I do agree with you that a leader should never get to a stage where they say, I have to stay because there's nobody else to lead. That's foolishness. You're supposed to create that environment. But what is interesting is the way in which it is done. Now, Owen Arthur is the person that is most responsible for Mia Mottley being Prime Minister of Barbados today, because he created opportunities for her as a young minister. He put 3 women in powerful positions in the government that he was holding first, and he empowered them. And he empowered Mia Mottley over the years. He made her Deputy Prime Minister, and he was largely responsible for her progress. But what happened is that when she came to the point where she was threatening him, he slapped her down. And it's the same thing with Keith Mitchell in Grenada. Keith Mitchell brought in a lot of women, who he felt would be potential leaders, because like when Arthur, he realized that the future of our politics is in a level of diversity that allows women especially to come in and take leadership roles. And he brought in many of them. Evelyn Pierre is one of them, who is now one of the contenders for leadership. But again, when the conversation about who should take over from him starts, his thing is always, this will be eventually, but not now. And then if you come home to St. Kitts and Nevis, the only political entity or leader that I know of that ever signed an agreement saying that he would pursue term limits, the only leader that I know of that ever took legislation to Parliament to impose term limits on the Prime Ministership, is Timothy Harris. So as much as people say that he didn't want to go anywhere, he brought legislation to Parliament that said, let's have term limits. It was defeated by Denzel Douglas and others in the opposition. And to the best of my knowledge, he signed an agreement in Nevis suggesting that after 2 terms that he himself would agree to go. So maybe he wasn't genuine and sincere, but my feeling is that the fact that Sean Richards became Deputy Prime Minister, the fact that he had signed this agreement initially meant that he had more of a commitment to developing an alternative than anyone else I've seen. I've never seen Denzel Douglas do anything like that. And to the best of my knowledge, Dr. Drew hasn't attempted to do it either. So that would be my sense. And Kennedy Simmons either. I don't know that he attempted to do that. So
Okay, we have a caller, Peter. Caller, go ahead.
Yes. Given the fact that Peter has mentioned that ideology does not play a part, certainly not in terms of policies of all the parties, and the fact that, well, it seems as if party loyalty itself is on the wane, and people are very cynical now about politicians saying they're all the same. What advice would he give to the parties to prevent that slide, right? Because there seems to be no strong man, shall we say, arising out of the parties. So how does he see, bearing in mind there have been so many machinations in the past election cycles, recent election cycles, isn't it very murky to predict exactly what would happen, in the future, insofar as parties and the results of elections are concerned? Okay.
That's a loaded question, but one I'm going to try to answer as best as I can. I would say that the future of St. Kitts and Nevis politics ultimately is the future entrenchment of a Labour Party, because there's no other single alternative right now. So that part makes me relatively more certain, because until there is an alternative that is solid and identified, I think it's gonna be difficult to see it any other way. Right now, I would say that you have a potential leader in Timothy Harris that doesn't have a party, and you have a party that doesn't appear to have attractive leadership. And I think that really is the opposition reality that makes the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party a force to be reckoned with. On a broader level, though, when you ask about what are some of the things that you can do to make the system more stable, I think that one of the things that St. Kitts has to look at urgently is this whole overseas voting situation. Because I frankly do not understand how, and in the interest of full disclosure, I was involved in setting it up the way that it was, quite frankly, in another life. But I think that it's not a situation where it imposes a level of unpredictability in your system that I am fascinated that people are willing to tolerate it still, because you just don't know what will happen until those players land.
Yeah. We have another caller. Caller gone, please.
Hello, good morning, and peace to everyone. Just want to find out something from Mr. Wickham while he's here. 2020, can you see a situation like that happen again? Okay, that's one question. And I'd like to comment on it. One, I think it was a unique situation, okay? And I believe we're going to have a situation like that again, how things happen because of being a legal. The other situation, you mentioned about Timothy Harris was the only person who talked about term limits. Remember, he was a team. And therefore, it was a team who would bring about that. But no one knows who exactly came up with the idea, but he was the Prime Minister at the time, and therefore he bought it. And therefore, to come to Parliament, of course, would have been discussed in Cabinet and then get the support. So I would just like to say the People's Action Movement, along with CCM, was a part of that. So we don't know about that. But what I could say is that I know the commentary that you made previous, you mentioned about there must be a collision to win again. But you know what? I am on the ground, and I know, and other persons will tell you, the People's Action Movement is a strong party, very strong, have its roots, and it can stand its own, even though we think it is interest. Sometimes, show the world they have that interest, for whatever reason, to align, but not necessarily the People's Action Movement need someone, especially from St. Kitts, because, you know, we have the seats all over and we can win. The other question, the other point I want to make is that, through it all, we have to remember, even though the political system or the dynamics might be similar, there's a difference between similar and identical. And I do not believe the philosophy of the People's Action Movement is identical to PLP, the Labour Party, or any other. They're unique. And the fact that you say there are differences, that means there is a difference. And I just want to end with that to let you know. And because of the uniqueness of the People's Action Movement policy, and even we have our constitution, that's what makes us different and put what our people are looking out for at heart. And that is why we were successful from 83 come right up to 95, when we had the little disturbance. And then there was a fallout. And because of that fallout, I don't want to go into it because I don't have much time. And that's what created the atmosphere where people were against PAM. And it was something similar when Team Unity fall apart. Something that went against PAM, but I'm going to just leave it there to let you know the People's Action Movement is strong enough and will contest as a single party and will win the seat. And will form a coalition with whoever it wants to after we win. Okay? Let me say that in the interest of the country, because we take the country first. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you, caller.
Okay, Peter, you have 1 minute to wrap because we have another segment. Go ahead.
I can give you a quick response in 30 seconds. This gentleman just told me about a distinguished record of PAM and all of the power that PAM has and stuff like that. PAM was in opposition for 25 years, I think it was. You were in government for 15.
From 1980 to 1995, from 2015 to 2022.
But not 2015, because you were in coalition as a single entity. And I'm saying that against that background, I think the evidence suggests that the PAM movement is not as strong as you may want to think it is, because if it was that strong, you wouldn't have been in opposition for 25 years. But I wish you well. I mean, if this is the information on the ground that I don't have access to, then, you know, I wish you well in going it alone. But my information would suggest differently. When I was making reference to Harris just now, I was talking about prime ministers. I said he's the only prime minister. But I do agree that the other leaders also supported his term limits. I did. But he was the only prime minister that I know of. And I mentioned him, Dr. Drew, Dr. Harris, and Kennedy Simmons. And then 2020 was very unique because it was COVID. And then it was also closed borders. The likelihood that you can create those situations again is unlikely. But I also think that it spoke to an expression of a country at a point in time that may very well come back, even though the circumstances will be different. But I appreciate that time is against us. So
Yes. Perhaps we could have a discussion on this further in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say thank you, Peter. Thank you for taking the time out and giving us your views on what is happening here in St. Kitts. Of course, you are always invited, and we will share discussions with you in the future.
All right, and I want to thank you for the invite. I particularly like the conversation that we had, especially when we don't disagree, because it makes it more interesting. Thanks for the invite. It was good to be on Island Tea again.
Yes.
And, is it still called Island Tea?
Yes, it is. The Win FM's morning show. Yes.
All right.
Okay, then. No problem.
Okay,
All the best.
Okay, so that's great. Peter Wickham, pollster of Bayesian origin.
Yes.
We have the Spectrum Center folks coming up next. Going to be very short because we have Money Matters at 10 o'clock. So
Oh, we do?
Yes, we do.
Money is back.
Yes, money is back. So
But it always matters. Money always matters.
Okay, so let's go to the break.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Fruta full of vitamin thing. Real fruit juice, no full of vitamin. Pop open the goodness, just dive in. Fruta every night, fruta every morning.
It's the amazing taste and quality in fruit juice you've come to know and love. Anytime, anywhere, any occasion. Fruta is your tastier, better, healthier choice.
We got the vibes, fruta. Real nice, fruta.
And for the families, remember to pick up the 1 liter.
Looking for something extra? Look no further. Suppligen's got you covered with our Suppligen Shop and Win promotion. You can be the lucky winner to take home one of 3 cash prizes. Just spend $12 or more on any Suppligen Tetra products at your favorite supermarket, write your name and contact at the back of your bill, and place it in the specially marked entry form box for a chance to win big. Promotion runs April 1st to May 30th, 2024. Suppligen boosts you up.
Enjoy the music.
And it's going to be short and sweet. We got, it's 9:53, 7 minutes until 10 o'clock. We have Money Matters coming up, so we're going to try and do this in 6 minutes or so.
Yes.
We have some autism experts from the Spectrum Center. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. So, tell us, we're going to go straight into it. As you speak, you could give your name and we go right into the conversation.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Josephine Claxton Richardson, and I'm the director of the St. Kitts Spectrum Services Centre. The centre is an establishment that works with persons with autism and their families. We offer support with assessments and therapy and just home visits, school visits. We support people in the community as much as we can, and we'd also do training as well. So the purpose of today, because it's Autism Awareness Month, we had an Autism Awareness Day on the 2nd of April, which highlights autism internationally. And so we felt that we wanted to sensitize persons within St. Kitts and Nevis, and thank you very much for allowing us to do that through your program as well. But we thought the important thing is to have a parent's perspective, because we do a lot of talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to have a parent's perspective on what that means for her, having an autistic child.
Yes.
And so we have a parent here who will introduce herself and go right into it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kamara Paris. I'm the parent of Brunaya Paris. She was diagnosed when she was about 1 year and 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's 6, talking very well. And I'm here. I'm a proud mother of 7. And she's the last. She just makes 6, the 12th of April. And I'm very happy and excited that when I went to the Spectrum, it was all welcome. you know.
It felt very comfortable.
Felt very comfortable. And I think once the parent accept and acknowledge that there is a problem, it's very easy to get help from the center and the community.
So what was your initial thoughts before going to the center? What were some of your fears?
To be honest, I had no fear. The reason being because when she was about 8 months to 9, she was saying Dada and Mama, and she just completely stopped. So it's like, wow. She was saying all that and she just suddenly stopped. And then I was talking to a young lady at work at Marriott, and she's the one that gave me the spectrum number, and I didn't regret it. I didn't regret it. But as I say, we all have to first accept, and then it's very easy to work along with.
So tell us, what are some of how has the experience been? What have you had to do to ensure that your child is given the necessary guidance? What was some of the things that the persons from the spectrum indicated?
First, when I went to the spectrum, it wasn't easy for me because as a child can't say nothing. It was like, you know, she went there first and it was all about playing because they have to first see the child, watch how she operates, and then they evaluate the child. Yes.
Okay. And how long was the evaluation process for?
It was a long time because it was 2019 and then 2020 was COVID. So it kind of slowed down and pushed back. But with the equipment that they gave me and the website that they gave me to go on YouTube and stuff like that, and I was be able to do my part at home. They call in Zoom to see how the child doing and interact with her. And, you know, it's like at first she wasn't paying attention. She wasn't looking at you. And it's like that part is so hard that when you call a child and she's not, so you have to get their attention, hold them, and make sure that they eye contact with you.
You say that you have 7 children.
7 children.
This is the only child that is experiencing autism.
Only child.
What has been the difference in terms of the way in which you, the experience for you? What has been the difference in terms of what steps have you taken with this child that you didn't take with others or vice versa, just to see what would have been the difference?
To be honest, I can't put my finger towards it because it's like, okay, from the first day this child was born, I didn't pick it up. My mom, I call on video and she's in Anguilla and she said, Kami, something about this baby, the first day she see her, she says something about this baby is just different to all of your other children you have. I said, why? She just fidgety, but I didn't realize. I thought it was just normal for a newborn baby to just, you know, to move.
Oh, so doctors, what would be some of the challenges that a child facing autism would have? What are some of the challenges?
So before we look at the challenges, probably look at what the definition of what people say is autism. So autism is looked at as a developmental disability, and there's repetitive behaviors, restricted movements, and so there's some of the things that might go on: communication and social issues, and a lot of sensory issues as well. So there's some of the things that people look at. But for like Ms. Brown was saying, a lot of the time it's that not socializing, not being there. And parents would say, well, why is my child not looking? Why is she not focusing? Why he or she's not focusing? Why are they, for some children, they may be toe walkers, so they're on the toes a lot. And for some children, they maybe just be rocking back and forth. But it is about that communication, the sensory, and those areas that people see as, we call red flags. So those are some of the things that people look at.
Okay, folks, we're going to have to leave it there, but I just spoke to I just spoke to someone. You guys are definitely gonna be.
Yeah.
We're gonna be bringing you back on Thursday.
Yes.
So don't worry. Thursday, we can say.
So this was just a sneak peek.
Yeah, this was a sneak peek. So we can get into this, get into all the different points on the spectrum and everything.
Yes.
Else.
So guys out there who are listening, this was just a sneak peek. You understand? You just get the tip of the iceberg. We're going to go into it fully on Thursday. So we want to thank you so much, and we welcome you back on Thursday as we get into the program and more about autism and the experiences that persons are facing. We have Money Matters, and so
no money matters. Actually, it turns out we don't have, but we have to wrap up at 10.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys, we welcome you back. So 8:30 on Thursday. Is that good for you guys?
Thank you.
Yes,
that's
wonderful.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll have the Spectrum Center back on Thursday at 8:30, and we can really get into it. And
yes. Very interesting topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting discussion.
8:30.
8:30.
8:30 on Thursday. Okay.
8:30.
And, yeah.
Again?
So everyone, that's going to do it for Island Tea. No Money Matters this week, but next week Terrence will be having Everton Blender from the Marijuana Commission. You guys know who Everton Blender is, a singer, yes. He's on the apparently on the Marijuana Commission, I think, in Jamaica. So that's next week's Money Matters.